Hello again and welcome to part 9 of Bad Dad by David Walliams. Chapter 23, Shopping Trolley. The boy lay still on his deflated lilo, listening to Dad and Auntie Flip talking in the living room. After a few minutes, Frank's bedroom door opened a little and Dad peered in. The boy shut his eyes tight in a pantomime of sleep. "I'm sorry, mate," whispered Dad, "but I have no choice. I have to do this for both of us." Frank opened one eye, the tiniest bit. He saw his dad framed in the doorway. It's something Frank thought he would never see again. His father had his old racing gear on. It was a red, white and blue boiler suit, which he'd not worn since the accident. Now the suit was all crumpled, grimy and tight on him since his tummy had expanded. Frank knew his father was up to no good. He had to find out what. The next sound the boy heard was the front door opening. Clunk. And he heard the front door closing. Clunk. The boy leapt up from his lilo and made another little dummy of himself in case Auntie Flip poked her head round the door. He pushed his feet into his slippers, in a rush putting the left one on his right foot and the right one on his left. In the living room, Auntie Flip could be heard composing another poem. "Looking at you would always make me dotty. Your eyes, your toes, even your little bottom. No, botty. This is genius." There wasn't time tonight to wait for the lady to go to the toilet. Frank decided he had to create a diversion. He crawled into the kitchen and turned on the tap. Splash! He then snuck himself behind the door just as Auntie Flip trundled into the room. "Most peculiar," said the lady, and she walked to the sink to turn off the tap. "I hope this place isn't haunted. Ghosts give me the willies." Frank seized his moment. He rushed round the kitchen door, ran down the hallway, and with the sound of the tap still gushing, he opened the front door. Clunk! The boy closed the door behind him and peered over the walkway. From up there, on the 99th floor, his father was now a little dot moving across the car park below. Frank leapt into his washing basket and flew down the stairs. Just as he reached the bottom, he saw his dad limp over to a Rolls Royce. The last one was white, but this was silver. Was it the same car? The engine was running and the three men from the other night were inside. This time Fingers was in the driving seat, with little Mr. Big sitting next to him. The mighty Thumbs was sitting in the back. He was so heavy that the car was tilting over to one side. "You're late," snarled Mr. Big. "Oh, sorry, governor." "Get in, and you better do what we say or there will be trouble." Dad climbed in and the Rolls Royce roared off. Frank felt as if he'd been punched hard in the stomach. His dad had lied to him. He was going off to do no good with these bad, bad men. The boy had to stop his father before it was too late, but he had a problem. How on earth was he going to be able to follow a car on foot? He wasn't a fast runner as it was. Frank spotted a discarded shopping trolley turned upside down on the grass. The boy righted it, and he ran alongside it as if it were a toboggan before leaping in. Whoosh! By some miracle, this shopping trolley was the one shopping trolley in the world that didn't have wonky wheels. It sped along the road, passing an old deer chugging along in her Morris Minor. Frank seized his chance and held on to the side of the car. Whizzing down the road now, the Rolls Royce was just a few cars ahead. The traffic lights turned red and all the cars slowed down to stop. Frank pushed away from the Morris Minor so he could catch up with the Rolls Royce. So as not to be seen, Frank ducked his head. He grabbed onto the boot handle of the Rolls Royce just as the light turned green. When the car zoomed off, so did Frank. Night was falling, and after a few minutes, the Rolls Royce turned off into an industrial estate. The road became bumpy, and the boy was thrown up and down in his trolley. As he could sense the Rolls was slowing down to stop, Frank let go of the car. Without any brakes, the shopping trolley trundled off at speed. The front wheels hit the pavement, and the trolley did a somersault. Frank crash-landed into a hedge. The boy was now caged in an upside-down shopping trolley. He pushed it upwards, untangled his pyjamas from the branches of the bush, and hid behind a burnt-out burger van. Frank watched as the four men got out of the Rolls Royce and looked around. As it was a Saturday night, the industrial estate was empty of people. Rusty old garage doors squeaked open, and three of the men disappeared inside. It was that magical sound again. Out zoomed the yellow Mini, coming to a stop a centimetre from Mr. Big's foot. Very clever, Gilbert, snarled the crime boss. So this heap of junk is the getaway car? Trust me, Mr. Big, replied Dad. Her name is Queenie. I built her with my own hands, and she's the greatest car in the world. Chapter 24. Monsters of the Deep. Frank couldn't believe that his father had put Queenie back together and not told him. More secrets, more lies. The boy guessed that the coat of yellow paint was to disguise her. Queenie was a one-off. A Mini with a Union Jack painted on her would be a dead giveaway to the police. After a short while, the two henchmen emerged from the garage. Both were holding iron bars and wearing what looked like ladies' tights over their heads. Neither Fingers nor Thumbs were what you might call handsome, but now with their faces all squished down by the tights, they looked like monsters of the deep. Frank desperately needed to talk to his father alone. He had to persuade him to stop this madness. First, he needed to create a distraction. Next to Frank's foot was a crushed-up drink can. The boy threw it high in the air, thinking it would land on Mr. Big's feet. However, he misjudged his throw, and instead it landed on Mr. Big's head. Boing! Ow! Screamed the crime boss. We're under attack! This was a much bigger distraction than Frank had intended. Fingers and Thumbs immediately started rushing around, wielding their iron bars as if going into battle. They whacked everything in sight, bushes, bins, even the burnt-out burger van, in an attempt to flush out whoever had hurt their glorious leader. Frank dashed across the ground on all fours. In the confusion, he managed to scuttle over to the back of the Mini and climbed into the boot. The boy squashed himself inside the small space and shut the door. Then he kept as still and quiet as possible so he could listen to what was being said. We can't find anyone, Governor, began Fingers. We searched everywhere, added Thumbs. They have to be hiding here somewhere, barked Mr. Big. Maybe it was a rat, guessed Thumbs. A rat picked up a drink can and threw it at me? Yelled Mr. Big. Big rat, Governor. One of them super rats, suggested Thumbs. It landed on my head, you imbecile. The rat could have been riding on the back of a pigeon. Just go, yelled Mr. Big, and bring me back the booty, or there will be trouble. Right you are, Governor, replied Fingers. The door of the Mini opened and closed, and Frank could feel the car sink a little as the two henchmen got inside. The car's engine revved up and the back wheels screeched. Then she lurched forward at a terrific speed. Frank was immediately slammed against the door of the boot. Woof! As Queenie raced off into the night. Chapter 25. Boom! Frank was thrown around like a sack of potatoes in the boot as Queenie raced down the roads. Finally, the little car came to a halt. Somehow the boy was still alive, though he had absolutely no idea where they were. All he did know was that his father was driving a getaway car, but what they were getting away from was a mystery. The boy put his ear next to the boot door and listened. First, the car door opened. Then there was the sound of footsteps. Soon afterwards, there was an explosion. An alarm sounded. Then he heard Fingers shouting, Come on, we've got 5 minutes until the police arrive. The boy had to see what was going on. He forced open the boot a tiny bit and peeked out. There was black smoke from the explosion, but as it cleared, Frank could make out a sign that read, Bank. The boy was only 11, nearly 12, but he had found himself in the middle of a real-life bank robbery. Suddenly he was scared, not just for himself, but also for his dad. If the police caught his father, he'd be sent to prison for a very long time. Frank leaped out of the boot and crawled along the road beside the car. He popped his head up at the driver's window. Ah! Cried his dad upon seeing his son. He wound down the window. What are you doing here? The man demanded. What are you doing here? The boy demanded. I asked first, snapped Dad. I was worried. I climbed into the boot. I didn't want you to do anything stupid. What's more stupid than climbing into the boot of a car? Robbing a bank, said the boy. We're not robbing a bank, replied Dad. What are you doing then? Fingers and Thumbs are just checking their savings accounts. By blowing the door off? It's Saturday night. They didn't realise the bank was closed. Frank rolled his eyes. Look, Dad, I may be a kid, but I'm not daft. I know exactly what you're doing. Now you need to get us out of here fast. I can't, replied Dad. Why not? They're bad men, Frank. They're capable of bad things. They'll hurt me. They'll hurt you. Then let's just drive and drive and drive and never stop. They'll find us. At that moment, Fingers and Thumbs ran out of the bank carrying a brown suitcase, which wasn't quite shut. It was trailing money. £50 notes were fluttering in the sky like butterflies. On seeing this child standing by the car, Fingers shouted, What the blazes is the kid doing here? I don't know him, said Dad. Hey, kid, scram! Fingers looked at the boy. He looks just like you. Poor boy, replied Dad. He's your son. Dad looked at Frank again. Oh, yeah, so he is. So what's he doing here? Demanded Thumbs. I thought it was bring your kid to work day, replied Dad, clearly hoping a joke might soften them. He was wrong. The two goons gave the man a death stare. There wasn't time to explain as a police car was speeding down the road towards them. It's the fuzz! It's the fuzz! Yelled Fingers. Come on! Fingers and Thumbs dived into the Mini through the passenger side. Mate, get in! Shouted Dad as he revved the engine. How? Pleaded the boy. Jump! The police car sped closer and closer. Nina, Nina, Nina. Dad revved the engine. The two heavies in the back started shouting. Leave the fool! Nasty little runt! Mate, jump in! Begged Dad. With that, the boy leaped headfirst into the car. The engine roared and Queenie sped off down the street, with Frank's bottom sticking out of the window. There we go. That's the end of part 9. Thanks very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed Bad Dad, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe as it helps to support the channel. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.